The Deceptive Desert, written by Fabiola, read to you by Sarah Luke. My grandmother told me this story. Many years ago, when she was just a teenager, she travelled to La Serena and she described that trip as the creepiest thing that had ever happened to her. She always loved to travel. She did it a lot, and every time it was by car, because her dad bought a huge van for family trips. My grandmother told me that her father used to say, "There is nothing better than travelling across the Atacama Desert by car. You can stop whenever you want." Laura, my grandma, believed it so. For this reason, one shiny day during summer vacation, all of her family decided to start the trip. They set the luggage, food, and books for reading. The desert can be boring after a few hours. My grandma was excited, but at the same time, she was a little bit worried. She always had found the desert very scary because of all the stories she had heard about it. Inexplicable things that usually happen out there, especially during the night. In this opportunity, this was even worse, because by the time they got to the road after the last town, the sun and light were gone. She started to read her book while her sister was playing with a doll next to her. At the front of the van, her father was driving, and at the same time, he was talking to her mother about the miles left to their destination. Finally, the night came. My grandmother was trying not to be afraid, but she couldn't help it. Her mother saw her through the front mirror and told her, "Darling, look at the sky. See how beautiful the stars look?" She smiled. She had something to focus on until she got tired. She got quite interested looking at and counting the stars with her little sister. But eventually the little one closed her eyes and fell asleep. After a few miles, everything was fine until something strange happened to the car. A weird smell was coming out of the engine. "Something is burning!" her mother screamed. Her father pulled over. He said, "I'm going to take a look." He got out of the van, and so did my grandmother. Her mum got out too. But instead of going to look what was going on, she went to the back of the van to see her little daughter. Laura started to feel anxious. She looked around and saw no more than darkness. No people at all, and only the lights of the van illuminating the place. She asked, "Dad, is everything all right?" Her dad answered, "No, honey, not really. Call your mum." She hurried and got inside the van to get her mother. "The engine is overheated. This is why we got that smell. We need some water for the car. Otherwise, we will have to stay here for a few hours and wait for the engine to get cold again," her father explained. Laura's mother asked, "Do we have water for the car?" "That's the problem. No, we don't," her father said. Laura was now freaking out. Her mother told her to calm down, but every time she breathed, her heart was beating faster. They waited for an hour, and the car remained the same. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, they heard, "Do you need help?" Laura's mother screamed. "Who's there? We can't see you," said the father. It was a fireman. Yes, a fireman in the middle of the desert during the night. The man was wearing a fireman hat and coat. While he was approaching the car, everybody saw that the coat was dirty and the man smelled like burned metal. The man said, "I'm sorry. I'm a fireman. I'm here to help. You don't know how often car accidents occur on this road." Everybody was perplexed. They couldn't believe what a fireman was doing there, walking by himself during the night. Laura's father said, "How did you find us?" "I saw you from the fire station a few miles ago," said the fireman. "A fire station? But there isn't a fire station around here. We left the last town at least 3 hours ago. It's only desert." The fireman didn't answer. He was mysterious. He approached the car, and his reflective coat didn't light up with the lights of the car. He started to look at the engine and said, "I have some water for your engine." The father smiled. The fireman and Laura's father poured the water in and waited a few minutes. The car started normally and everything was fine. The family felt incredibly relieved because now they didn't have to spend the night there. "Okay, everybody in the van. Problem solved," said the father. Laura was so intrigued by the fireman and his mysteriousness that she asked, "What about the fireman? Is he coming with us?" Her parents looked at each other and they thought the same thing. How could they leave him there if he was so gentle and willing to help? They have to say thanks in some way. Therefore the mother spoke. "Let us pay you for the water, sir." The fireman answered, "Oh no, do not worry about it. If you want, you can give me a lift to the fire station." Laura's father totally agreed it was the least they could do. Thus, they got in the van, but this time Mum and the 2 girls were sitting at the back, and Dad was driving next to the fireman. In the van, Laura couldn't stop staring at the man through the rear view mirror. She saw his face and thought how stiff, old and lifeless he looked. During the ride, while they were taking a detour to the fire station, the father tried to talk to the fireman and he remained silent. Laura's mother asked him a question and he didn't answer. In the beginning, they thought the man didn't hear what they were saying, but after a few minutes, they started to worry and just stayed in silence. According to Laura, the trip back to the fireman's place was extremely awkward. She felt scared all the time and the atmosphere was cold. After 30 minutes of driving, the fireman finally spoke. "Here, pull over, please." The family looked everywhere and they saw nothing around. The father said, "Are you sure? There is nothing out here." Without saying a word, the man got out of the van and closed the door. Laura opened the window and saw the man vanishing into the desert. "He disappeared!" she screamed. Nobody could believe it. They decided to keep going a few minutes after the inexplicable thing they had seen. They turned around and went to the south again. 30 minutes later, something unbelievable stopped them. They passed by the same place where they'd found the fireman. But this time they didn't find a person. They found an animita, a roadside shrine which commemorates the death of a beloved one, with a huge name on the top that said, "In memory of Juan the fireman." A white square at the bottom said, "He died in a car accident right here while he was going to the fire station." After Laura read it, she felt a huge chill in her back. She couldn't believe that they talked to a dead person. The family got in the van again, and the father started driving as fast as he could. This is one of many stories that the Atacama Desert has. People believe that there is a place where illusions, the dead, and the living mix together. The dead fireman shows up at night on the road between Chañaral and Copiapó. Many people have claimed to have seen him. Beware of the desert, because not everything you see is truth. More often than not, you could come across tricky events in which even the bravest person could not help screaming.